Having trouble with our London station today. Check one, two. Hey, man. What's happening, gang?
Not a
What's
lot.
up, bosses?
Friday. Conclusion of a big week. So what do we think? They're both gone. Which one did you like more?
Just the conventions in general?
Yeah.
Well, the DNC was lit, bro. Come on.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a comparison. And why does everybody have shitty backgrounds today?
Well, I'm kicked out of the
Explain
house.
mine.
You got kicked out of the house? Gotcha.
No, my wife hired some carpet cleaners to do the stairs, so I'm on the third floor, meaning I can't either get stuck upstairs or she ain't got
look
nothing
at
to dry.
Blake.
Oh, yeah.
Third
You're going to be there
floor.
for the weekend, brother.
We're gonna call you the financial elite from now on.
Because I'm having the carpets cleaned on our filthy stairs.
Yes, and you're in your third floor house.
Well, it's a skinny house. It's 2,700 square feet. It's not that big.
Yeah, is it a
Skinny house was as a townhouse?
skinny
Kinda.
house?
Yeah. 3 small floors. So I'm in the garage apartment.
And then Jurg's over here doesn't do anything with his green screen right now, even though he painted that whole wall.
So, yeah, we'll talk about that. Earlier this week, well, first of all, 99.1 WDJY will be on 1490 in about an hour in Bradenton, Tampa Bay. We're now on the America One radio network that's headquartered in Atlanta. It's progressive talk, but we just want to be wherever we can be. We're also on Rumble. We're also on Truth Social. We're good and balanced. We're trying to be on the UG.media. UG, I can't remember what it stands for, but think of the Underground. It's another talk station out of London. And this is the second day in a row we could not sign on to it properly. So we're going to have to get in touch with them. It's going to be a project for the weekend. Jurg's Radio, Rainbow Radio, all the social media stuff, the rest of the Mastiff Media Network. Today, obviously, we're starting already. We're going to talk about the DNC and whether or not she's going to get her every 4-year bump that every candidate usually gets at the end of their convention. Some fact checking for her speech last night. That was the first of all. You're going to both hate me for this, even you, Blake. That was the first night all week I didn't watch.
I don't hate you. You missed nothing of substance. There's no substance in either one of these things.
I can tell just by that that Matt does not agree.
Of course he doesn't. He's a Democrat running for Congress. He has to. I understand why you'd be enthusiastic, but there's no real substance. I feel like.
But I'll address that. Let me go through everything else we're doing today. Harris's price control plan, and we're going to talk about some hate mail, where one of the guys there said that's never worked for anybody who's ever tried it. Ukraine into Russia. Hang out to the end. The very last thing we got is hate mail. It's actually a conversation I had on Facebook with this one asshat that I love when people come up with an idea. It's their idea, so they think it's brilliant right away. Nobody's ever open to criticism. Nobody's ever just willing to just put it out on the table and say, hey, what do you think? Does anybody else have anything? Nope. I'm an expert because I was born in 1984. I'm like, dude, you're young enough to be my son. Anyway, first up, Pierre's pot. Oh, you're going to love this graphic. You're going to love this graphic. There's a guy, you guys don't know this yet, so I've done this intro already, but there's a guy back in Philly who's been on one of the rock stations for 40 years, more than 40 years. It's going to be 43 years, or was 43 years this year. Pierre Robert is a rock and roll icon. And one of the things I stole from him, well, the only thing I stole from him, but one of the things I remember from him, he did during his midday show, he did the toast of the morning sauce, which of course is coffee. So I've created what we call Pierre's pot. And you'll notice the flowery leaf in the background, a little bit of a play on words. That referendum was actually up for voting earlier this Tuesday. You want to know how backwards Florida is? Tuesday, August 20th, we finally had our primary. You know, when each party decides who their candidate's going to be. We just had our primary.
The primary, not a runoff?
No, the primary.
That is pretty late.
I got to vote as an independent on other things. I can't do Democrat or Republican because it's closed. But I got to vote for school board and judges and county commissioners.
That does seem pretty late.
Well, the Republicans one's over, and that's what everybody is here. And the Democrat was that week. The decision's kind of made.
I wouldn't mind going back to shorter campaign schedules, though. I feel like we've overextended these things
100,000%
to a degree that's absolutely ridiculous. Most people aren't paying any attention. It's just junkies like us that pay attention before now anyway.
Dude, they're starting to campaign for governor already in 2026 over here. They're like, hey, who's going to be the governor? It's like, we didn't even get the president in 24.
I don't think it's I would love to see someone that's done actually some real investigation and some studying into, is it actually helping anything?
Right.
Because like, let's look at obviously we don't know how this election is going to turn out, but right now you've got one of the two presidential candidates.
Yours, can you take this Pierre's pot off the screen so I can see everybody?
5 weeks ago was not the nominee. You know what I mean? Like, was not even running for president. If whether they win or lose, as long as it's like as long as it's thin margins. I mean, if Trump just absolutely like stomped on Kamala Harris in November, then we'll have a different discussion. But if it's close, like everyone, I mean, all the data says it will be a 50-50 race, come down to a couple states, maybe even one state. If that happens, then won't it disprove that you need to run for years to be? I mean, I know she's also the sitting vice president, so there's a built-in thing there. We know who she is, but most of the country doesn't know who she is. Most of the country had an unfavorable opinion of her, but it seems like some of that, of course, I know you don't believe in any polling, Yergs, which is ridiculous, but I mean, obviously that's turned around because people are being introduced to her in some way. So I think it's mostly just that people really had no opinion of her, or if they had a bad opinion of her, it was because of the being linked to the Biden administration. I I think if she wins in November, it has to prove that we don't need to have these multi-year presidential campaigns. I mean, I know no one will learn that lesson from it, but it does seem like if even if she just barely loses, doesn't it prove that?
Prove what?
That like those super long campaign doesn't matter. Like she came in.
Well, I don't know about I think it's all about fundraising, dude. I mean that's where
But
it
she's
is.
proven that you can fundraise in August. And that
I mean,
nothing that happens before here matters. Right?
I'm with you. To be perfectly honest, I mean, I think that it should be shorter. This 2 year long campaign cycle, and people are starting the campaign already for 26 already now. Like I said, it's just it is crazy.
I think
It is crazy.
the other reason it's absolutely crazy is because even in the opposition of that, so if you're on either side of a ticket and you've got to go after someone for even longer periods of time, well, the thing you throw out there will be old news by the time the people that are going to decide this election are paying attention to it. So every fight we've had right up until right now about Donald Trump or Kamala Harris or Biden, I mean, however you want to talk about it, I don't think the people that are going to sway this election were paying attention till at the earliest Trump's speech after the assassination attempt and her speech. I think that's the extent of where most of these persuadable voters are paying attention, which means
Well,
every attack that's happened before then is old news and they'll never hear it.
Well, but I mean, I don't. I agree with you when you're talking about the masses. But when you're talking about rallying up a base, people who are going to be making phone calls and knocking doors. When you're talking about the people who are engaged, the fact is you are going to get a lot of people to be in your camp and to be at your offices and to be staffing way beforehand, and they're excited. So you got to start that process early. And to be perfectly honest with you, those no, wait, give me a second, Blake.
Well, I was just gonna say Kamala inherited Biden's team, so
just
really
give me a second, Blake. Right? and to be fair, people like us, or people who have been in the system and sorry, in the in deep in politics, or really paying attention to it, they are. You'll be surprised how many people will come out and say, why aren't you doing anything, or why aren't you campaigning, or when can I lit drop, or what are you doing that is campaigning wise, back in March, in April and May, because they're the ones that are sitting at the end of their seat watching all this news going like, where am I going to support my candidate? So I think that if you don't campaign earlier, if we don't change the system and they don't get a new pattern or you're going to have a lot of people that are wanting to be engaged that aren't engaged. And that's one of the biggest challenges is how do you get people engaged and keep them entertained? Entertained, involved through the process to activate them in September.
So that is from what you're seeing on the screen. The Democrat machine told their people to coalesce behind her, and they fell in lockstep. No questions asked. Media as well. She is being given false praise 24/7 so they can get voters to believe. Okay, first of all, let me do some introductions. That's a perfect because she is our. We'll put it back up so nobody can see.
She is our opinions.
Pierre's pot, toast of the morning sauce. This is my friend Stacy. I met through another. She's a friend of a friend. We've not actually physically met yet, but if you haven't figured out, what are you sending love messages to Blake in private chat for?
Oh, I don't even.
I just told him to be quiet, and I felt bad about it. I was like, Blake, just give me a second.
I haven't figured out.
It's too early for me to get giving Blake crap this morning, so I apologize.
It's only 11 o'clock.
I don't mind it at all.
All right, then I'm bringing the heat.
I just can't see the chat. I'm sorry, guys. I'm full screen, and apparently you can't see the chat. So
I'm bringing the heat. We're gonna burn that alpaca off your head.
So sorry. Stacey is rather opinionated, and if you're not figuring out by the text that's on the screen right now that I just read, for those of you listening, she's a Trump supporter, but we love her anyway. And she is part of this. The reason why, by the way, the toast of the morning sauce is in her direction, because we both had a very heated, immature, the usual Facebook fight earlier this week, I think it was, or maybe over last weekend. I'm not sure exactly when, but we haven't spoken since until actually today. There was a little bit of chat back and forth between our mutual friend Andy. And she's one of the few, and inspired me to be the same, to be able to put something like that away and say, hey, we still need to talk about these differences and at least display some pretend maturity or whatever. And so today, Stacey, Opinion Chick on YouTube, the toast of the morning sauce is in your direction. Well done. And I need another sip.
I will say this. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, let me address Opinion Chick and her comment really quick. Did we read this? We got to read this to the audience. So what happens, audience, is there's video as well, because this is radio, and then there's some comments coming in. So please make sure that you're calling.
What is it? You heard that I did it already.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, he read it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I ramble. Do it again.
I apologize. So I'm going to answer
Stop
this.
Apologizing.
Guys, you are really getting on my nerves this morning already. It's 17 minutes in. I'm telling you. No, but the Democratic machine told their people to coalesce behind her, Kamala Harris, and fall in step. No questions asked. Media as well. She's been given false praise 24/7 so they can get voters to believe. Look, from a Democratic point of view, I think that look, you really want to attack the other side, and I know that's what you do in politics. But I don't think that Democrats are also like just falling in line and giving her praise. I think that it is kind of a balanced approach. Are we upset that there was no primary to pick when Biden dropped out, and Biden didn't drop out earlier, and then it was all this? There's a lot of Democrats feeling that same way. At the same time, you're less than 90 days out, and you have this switch happen. I think it's just realistic. It's just realistic that there's not much time to run proper primaries, to get proper funding, to run a proper candidate. Do I think that this is the exemplary process of a democracy? Absolutely not. But do we also are kind of like putting them between a rock and a hard place to say, hey, that this is what we got right now? Absolutely. It was a coup. It wasn't a coup.
No, I'm not going. I would never. I think that's ridiculous language.
It's not a coup.
Don't read the chat yet. Don't read the chat yet, because there's some other stuff I want to address.
Okay. So as a Democrat, I will say that I wish there was a different process, but also we have to understand the timeline of everything. And the last thing I will say is that I will want to give Kamala praise. And look, we do need more policy coming from her. She was not my first pick, second, third, fourth, or fifth pick in the last primary, to be perfectly honest. But at the same time, I do want to give her flowers of being able to jump into this and honestly really rally and run a proper campaign without the ramp up period. Look, this will be hard for anybody. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're Barack Obama. If you were 90 days out and you had to run a presidential campaign, to come out as strong as she did is also very impressive to her team, and just saying, like, the chips are down and I got to step up to it. So that's my opinion.
Okay, let me disagree with a lot of that. First of all,
I don't do the Republican rebuttal.
I don't think her opinion is Trumpy at all. I think it's pretty true of what happened. I think
I promise you, she's a Trump supporter.
No, I'm not saying that she's not. I'm saying that this is nothing Trumpy that she's saying. It's true.
It's the whole Republican Party is doing that right now. And when I say Republican Party, by definition, it's the MAGA.
Right, but I'm not calling it a coup. I'm not calling it a coup, but it is. First of all, no one ran against her. No one else stepped up and said they wanted to run. So yes, I do think that Democrats strongly suggested that happen. I don't believe for a second that people like Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi weren't saying, I don't feel like they went around and encouraged anyone else to run. Does that make sense? I think that they were like, because you're right, it's a rock and a hard place. It's like, what are we going to do? Are we going to have a fight within the party when we got 3 months to go in this thing, and we're going to take 2 weeks of it to figure out who the candidate is? I get where they came from. It doesn't bother me that they coronated her so much, like from the process stand, because like what else could they have done? And no one else decided to run. My problem though is that they're running the exact same campaign they did with Biden. Let's hide her. Let's not let her talk to media. Let's not let her do press conferences. Let's not do interviews. Let's not do anything that lets her screw this up. And it's this bubble wrapped campaign. And my point is, she could be absolutely anyone right now. She doesn't have to be, all she has to do is be able to read from a teleprompter at this point. She's given us no policies. She's really the whole convention was about absolutely nothing. It's about just buzzwords, freedom and feeling and joy. And none of it has anything to do with, okay, how are you going to end what is your plan for the Ukraine conflict? What is your plan for the Israel conflict? What is your plan for the economic problems that we have? What is your plan for any of this? It is all absolute nonsense. We've heard nothing from her. All we've heard is from her campaign telling us, no, she doesn't have those positions she had in 2019, but she's not even the one coming out and flip-flopping on those. It's her campaign spokesperson says blah, blah, blah.
I look, I agree with that, and I do think, and I'm getting frustrated that it's always a senior spokesman or a senior consultant that comes out to give policy opinions. In my opinion, it's not a policy of hers until she comes out and actually says it. And I agree with that.
Exactly.
I will also give Trump his flowers for going on a lot of long form podcasts and a lot of long form shows. He was on Theo Vaughn the other day. I thought it was excellent.
Me too.
So I really do feel that I wish I had more of that. With that said, I do not see a lot. Here's my issue with this statement is that the Democratic machine told their people to coalesce behind her and fall in lockstep. It's not like the Republican machine doesn't do that same thing with Trump.
Oh, well,
Look,
yeah,
the GOP ousted Ronna McDaniel and ousted everybody in the GOP party leadership because they weren't playing by Trump's rules. If you guys remember in 2022, the so-called red rave that was supposed to happen did not happen. And that was when 2020 and 2022, when Trump said, I'm going to get all these rhinos in air quotes out and just totally take over the party. And if you voted for impeachment, if you voted different than how Trump wanted, then you are going to be primaried. And if that's not a coup, in air quotes, opinion chick, if that's not how you tell people to fall in line by threatening them with their positions, their democracy, with your own democracy within your own party, then you can't criticize the other people. This is what happens: is if you don't lockstep fall in line with the RNC and the GOP and Trump's MAGA, then you are going to be out. And so, yes, we have an issue on all sides, but don't come in here and tell me, opinion chick, that the Democratic machine is going to be all bad and it's a coup. Like you don't have it on your side. That's dumb.
Yeah, I mean the coup stuff is ridiculous. It's not.
It is the Republican projection.
Well, no, it's what it is. It's Trump trying to go ahead and make the excuse for why the election is going to be stolen in November. That's what this really is.
It's the MAGA projection.
It's the projection of, look, they stole the election from Joe Biden, just like they're going to steal it from me in November.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's also, at least Democrats, you're right, Matt, are just like smiling and nodding, even if they don't agree. Now, there's a chunk of them that aren't. The people that were outside, apparently. I mean, I think that's my biggest problem with this, is that Democrats throughout this entire convention week, made an about face on every position they took 4 years ago in the primaries. Basically, everyone but Joe Biden went the learned lesson from 2016 for them was go as far left as possible. And we were talking about defund the police. We were talking about everything's racial identity politics. We were talking about just like a laundry list of really what turned out to be very unpopular positions on stuff. Well, now they're trying to moderate. The interesting thing to me is that you look at her speech, you take out a couple of things, maybe about abortion, and it's a republic. Every position she's taking is Trump's position. That's what's super bizarre to me, is that we've got this, people have been talking about this uniparty thing, which I hate when Republicans talk about it's just a uniparty, which is their way of saying anyone that compromises with anyone from the other side is a
So
traitor.
then what is bad about flip-flopping?
No. I'm talking about the whole party has tried to move and pretend they're the party of freedom. The people outside, the only reason they brought an American flag was to burn it. Okay. And they're all of a sudden the country that thinks America is great. Well, I mean, I've got Kamala Harris and Michelle Obama on record pretending they've never had hope in this country. These are two, I mean, I don't care what you think about racial politics and things like that in the country. I know there's a lot to still work on there, but Michelle Obama and Kamala Harris are the elite of the elite. I mean, there's no way around it. And for Michelle Obama, who I really like, but I don't love her sentiment that she's only felt hope in this country twice, and right now is the second time because of Kamala Harris. And I just think that this, frankly, like to try to embrace the patriotism.
If we're going to go with sexually transmitted diseases as Trump's Vietnam, and it was just a reference, then I think we can easily say that Michelle's 2 times of feeling hope were when her husband ran and when we finally put this MAGA crap to bed.
Well, but I mean, my point, like, so there's nothing else good in this country that's ever happened other than Barack Obama and Kamala Harris running. That's what the speech sounds like. They're saying it's the first time I've ever been proud to be an American. And my point is they're trying to change that because that's not been a popular sentiment in the country. I just don't like that they've both come to this. Both parties, like I said, this is both conventions were just about feelings. They weren't about policy. They're not about how they're going to fix these problems. In fact, most of their solutions for these problems are the same. I mean, Kamala Harris has endorsed at least two of Trump's economic things. She's pretending last night, she's saying, I'm going to be strong on the border. I mean, there's no evidence that Democrats have been. They just realized that was very unpopular and will lose them an election. My point is, I want to hear the reason why. I'm glad that people are moderating towards the conservative policies. I mean, to be fair, like the Democrats this whole week, they didn't mention any of those things I just mentioned that they were talking about 4 years ago. It's because they proved to be deeply unpopular with the majority of Americans. So that's good. I'm fine with that kind of flip-flop. But like Matt said, I want to hear it from her. I want to hear what her plans are. I want to hear specific policy proposals. I don't want to hear a bullet point price control thing without any details. I think that's foolish. I think it was bad campaigning too. I think it's a bad to come out with something as when people are calling you
understand the hypocrisy that you're supporting right now.
What hypocrisy am I talking about?
2 or 3 months ago, when Joe Biden gave a laundry list of stats, you were the one that said he's giving too much. Nobody cares about that.
No,
now Kamala Harris turns around and says, here's what I'm going to do. Big picture, bottom line, we're going to restrict price gouging.
No, I said I was talking specifically about in the debate. He was trying to get into the weeds of numbers and specifics. And my point is when you've got a minute and a half to answer a question, you don't.
No argument.
Okay, so it's not the same thing. I'm not talking about the same thing.
It is because she's only doing her teleprompter thing. She's only doing the teleprompter thing, and she's limited in time also.
She's got a website she could put a policy plan on, Yergs, and she won't do it. Don't take up for it. I mean, I'm sitting now. I agree. People don't care about policy as much as they do, but you've got to at least give the broad strokes. Tell them how things work. Like, for example,
I'm going to restrict price gouging is a broad stroke.
My point is, it was a fool.
I don't like that one though, Yergs. We don't like that one.
You're getting
a different one. We like
you point out you put out a policy proposal that was every economist agrees would be a terrible idea, but it makes people go, oh, I like the idea that she's going to try to control prices. But you don't. My point is, someone needs to get out there. I expect our leaders to explain some of this stuff to the American people, and they just won't.
Come on, Blake. You're being kind of weird right now because it's like. Okay, it's like at one time it's like, where's her policy? And I agree. I want more long form conversation. I want more policy. But when she puts out a policy, you just can't say, well, I need more. I like the economists don't agree with it. That's her policy. They don't agree with it and then vote against it.
I'm fine with that.
But that's the point. But those you're kind of arguing two sides of the coin here.
I said that was a dumb policy to come out with. I mean, I can disagree with the policy.
But that's the thing. That's the beauty of voting. The dumb policies come out all the time. It doesn't mean you have to vote for it. That is her policy. Now you go, hey, you know what? I don't like that policy. I think it's dumb. I'm checking this box.
Right, but
That's
the
how it works.
only thing we've seen from her. That's it.
Okay.
I just
Does
You check
anybody
different
remember
boxes.
the fact that she's only been campaigning for 2 weeks?
I know exactly. Like
Yeah.
literally, she ramped up. This is why I said a little bit ago that give her flowers. Nobody, no matter how critical you want to be, how much armchair quarterback you want to be, can operate a political campaign, especially nationwide, as quick as they done it. They actually did an amazing job in that. And so, look, November is still what 72 days away. 72 days away. If you don't have the answers to your questions and you don't like them, then that's what you're gonna do on the ballot. And by the way, we don't have the independent candidate anymore. So it's either one or the other. You don't vote.
Yeah, is that a definite now? Is he?
I think last night he put it out. And he's going to announce it today.
And yeah, he'll announce it that he's pulling off. He's trying to get off the ballot. Now, if he endorses Trump, that's an interesting discussion we should have for sure.
Well, and that's
so jaded on
that's
Trump
a point
that
too.
you won't discuss his policies moving forward or in his 4 years in office. Again, this is the things that Trump people just drive me crazy about. If you agree with certain Trump policies, then they don't hear that you agree with them because you're a Democrat. If you want to discuss like the certain like Jurgs just said, what was it, yours or Blake, that says that we put up Trump policies that, or no, Blake, you said that Kamala Harris is saying a lot of Trump policies during her speech, or that was yours. I don't really know who it was. And now if you say that and we're saying that we agree with them, the opinion chick is going to come in and says, you're so jaded, you want to discuss Trump's policies. What are you talking about? We literally just said that. Why do you guys want to fight all the time with people that don't just say, I'm 100%, saluting to MAGA? I just don't get it.
I absolutely want to fight with those people about policy. I keep in mind everything I'm throwing at Kamala right now is also true of Trump for the most part. We don't get a lot other than, I mean, I would say
Trump doesn't give it because he doesn't have it.
Oh,
he's never had it.
And he doesn't care, and he's going to change it, which is so funny about trying to stick Project 2025 to him as if there's any agenda he's ever stuck with ever. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of hilarious because he decides what he wants in the moment.
But that's Trump. That's what he's learned to operate as the autocrat that he is.
I don't even know if it's that. It's more like
he's used to saying, Blake, I need you to do this for me. You need to build a golf course in Chicago. Matt, you need to build a golf course in Ohio. I'm going to be there in 2 weeks to see how it's going. That's his building a golf course by telling somebody else to do it. So by telling somebody else to write these policies, when I've never heard him put together a proper sentence, that's how he does it.
So here's my question.
I want to address opinion chicks. They waited for whatever reason. Don't you see why they waited?
Waited for what? I don't know what we're talking about. What are we talking about?
They waited for I'm thinking she's saying about when they took Biden out or when Biden stepped away. I agree.
So foolish. Why would they wait?
I'm going to tell you. I think he agreed to it. I think he knew it himself. He's not stupid. And what happened was he played along and said, I'm in this, I'm the candidate. He just said, you know what? I'm going to wind up taking this on the chin, but I'm stepping back as a one-term president. I'm taking it on the chin anyway.
Do you have any evidence that this is what happened? Or you just...
Yes, it's called common sense.
No.
Here's what happened.
The common sense thing would be to have an open primary 2 years ago, make him step down after 2022. If you could...
Not now.
Time.
He wasn't stepping down 2 years ago. He was never stepping down 4 years ago.
He wasn't stepping down in June.
Here's what happened. He's realized, just like I'm thinking now at 53, well, 53 in November, but essentially 53, I'm getting old. He realized that it was too late to nominate somebody else through the normal, I am old bitch. And we'll tell you about the bitch story when we get into the hate mail later. He realized it too late. They had a plan. That plan was to let Donald Trump screw up first. When he did the whole I think I'm going to beat Joe Biden, which I told you was never going to happen. He did the whole, I'm going to beat Joe Biden. I'm going to pick a running mate. Who, because we're using that word, who's my bitch? J.D. Vance is mini-me Donald Trump. He's not, I'm forgetting names now, but Tim Scott or
what does Opinion Chick think of JD Vance?
She loves him because Trump told her to love him.
What's her name, by the way? I'm sorry. I keep calling you Opinion Chick.
Stacy.
And I'm not fighting with you. Opinion Chick, if you call in or click the link, we'll invite you into this conversation. This would be great.
Okay, but here's my only thing with you.
But let me just reiterate that they let the Republican ticket, they let MAGA pick J.D. Vance as Trump's crony instead of somebody that would actually bring votes to the ticket.
Who is they?
MAGA.
You mean Trump?
I'm not going to say the Republican Party because it's no longer the
Only
Republican Party.
Only Trump. I just want to be totally clear. When you say they, you mean Trump. Trump,
yes,
J.D. Vance.
100%.
Okay.
And by the way, that's not who picks your running mate. When Joe Biden was picked for Obama did not pick Joe Biden. Obama and company did. I was right outside the door when it happened.
That's fine. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Normally,
that's standard. People. But that's my point. Is that
guys? I'll be right back. You guys continue. Sorry, I'm gonna have to go for a little bit.
The buck does stop with the candidate, though. I mean, Obama has final say. He might meet with advisors. Trump has final say. But I mean, my point is, Trump just made the decision. Trump does. I mean, the only people he conferred with allegedly, and this is from what I've heard from reasonable people that don't lie to me, but it's kind of hearsay. But I mean, it was his sons and Tucker Carlson that convinced him to pick JD over Doug Burnham for wild conspiratorial reasons. But he listened to those three people and no one else. I think that's foolish. But I also think that there's no evidence that Joe Biden wasn't desperately clinging to hang on to this until someone came in. And I think what obviously happened is that Friday before they said, you can either go yourself or we're going to fight you starting next Monday. And that's why they had that drip of senators started coming out and congressmen. It was clear that like he was told, given an ultimatum, we're either going to force you out or you can step down yourself. It's pretty clear to me that that's what happened because just from reading reports and people that know and insider stuff that was leaked out and stuff that this was not a scheme. This would be
so what reports? What? No. We give citations here. What reports?
So these are people that I listen to, like Jonah Goldberg, Sarah Isger, people that are have been in Washington for a long time, and their sources that can't be on the air or whatever, like that week where like it seems like he's being given an ultimatum and something will happen by the weekend. And it did. I mean, he dropped out on Sunday via Twitter. So to me, it was pretty clear that Jill and the people Biden was listening to, which was basically Hunter and Jill and his sister, I guess, were the people that he was really paying attention to. And
why all of a sudden were they so supportive when he did it?
Well, because I think that they do realize they still want to beat Trump. I think that they're not gonna, but I mean, there's gonna be a book that comes out next year or the year after, depending who wins. I mean, if Kamala loses, that book will come out in January. We will learn more about what happened in these last few months before Biden stepped down. I'm curious to know, because here's the thing. Again, keep in mind, going back to her campaign staff essentially is his campaign staff.
Correct.
She inherited his campaign. It's obvious from what Matt has been pointing to. They know how to run a campaign. It's obvious that Biden was not listening to them. I think it's pretty clear that no one forced him to do that debate in June. He thought it was a good idea. I think it's pretty obvious the campaign would have rather him just try to do the basement campaign again, because they're doing the same thing with Kamala right now. They're just trying to hide her, and they're just trying to use surrogates for everything.
She's in arenas.
She's only doing teleprompter speeches. That's not impressive to me. She's not talking to the press. She's not doing interviews. She's not doing press conferences.
We got to change it.
No, look, it's you don't think they're hiding her behind a sea of every quote is not from her. It's from a campaign staff. It's from campaign officials say this person says this. It's Pete Buttigieg that's out there doing media. It's not she and Walz won't do media. And to me, that's strategically the campaign has told them not to do that. She's listening to them as the difference.
Okay,
Biden didn't.
let's say they were told not to do that. There's always a bigger question that's never discussed. Why?
Because she cannot speak extemporaneously. She's not very good at like on the fly. She's not good. She's a good prosecutor.
Did you see those Palestinian protesters that tried to cut her off a week and a half ago?
That's not what I'm talking about. She can't have a conversation with a journalist that's going to ask her these kind of tough questions. Okay, because pretend you're Kamala Harris. What do you think she'd answer right now if someone asked her, when did you know about Joe Biden's cognitive decline?
She's not going to answer that.
That's my point. That's why they can't put her in front of the press, is because
Let's
that's
talk
the
about
question people want to know.
when did you know that the Republicans were wrongly calling you the border czar?
No. What,
Or when did you know? No. That's an actual issue. That's an actual issue.
Axios, the same freaking publication that's trying to memory hole us into believing they wrote in 2022 that she was the border czar. When the whole thing, every media, because that's just a term we call people when you give someone an assignment that says you're in charge of this specific thing that I'm asking you to go look into. Everyone called her the border czar. And now we're using it, people on the right, as like, this is the lady that was in charge of the border for the last few years. Everyone knows what that was. That was Joe Biden trying to pass the buck to Kamala for her to get the blame for it. The second she starts to get the blame for it, everyone's like, she wasn't put in charge of the border. She absolutely was. Your blindness, you are blinded by your hatred for Trump. She was put in charge of the border.
I don't hate anyone. I do not hate anyone.
Then was she put in charge of the border or not by Biden? Yes or no?
I'm pulling that up right now.
I mean, you can pull up. Here's what's funny. This same Axios article writer that said she was never the border czar is the same writer that wrote the article calling her the border czar in 2022. It's so hypocritical, and it's media malpractice. The fact that they think that they're just going to pull the wool over our eyes, just like they tried to do with Biden's age for the last year or two. They've tried to tell us for years nothing's wrong with him. He's great. He's fine. He's obviously the best version of Joe Biden we've ever seen. He is strong. He is mighty. He is good looking. The media, and it didn't work. Everyone saw right through it. We were like, we can see with our eyes that he's old. My point is that's not going to necessarily work with Kamala either. Now it might, because there's a shorter window of time. But that is what the Democratic Party and the media are trying to do right now. They're trying to make us feel great about Kamala Harris with zero substance because she can't answer those questions. Those are going to be tough questions. It's going to be like, okay, how are you different from Biden's border policy? Where do you think he messed up? You were put in charge of the border. Why didn't you fix this earlier? She says she would sign that bill last night. Okay, prove it, I guess. I don't believe that she would, but
I got an idea. Let's have an actual member of the Republican Party give us a reason why they took all the time to help write the bill, and then all of a sudden they get one phone call and they don't like it anymore?
Because Trump told them to vote no on it. That's why. I mean, we all know that's what happened. Everyone knows that's what happened.
So now she's going to fix that, and that's bad?
No. I'm saying she doesn't. I don't think she really has that border policy. I think that everything she said in 2019 is against that border policy. So my point is, like, come out and really tell me what your positions are.
What was it? And I can appreciate it firsthand because everything Barack Obama said in 2008 was against gay marriage.
Yeah,
but he
thought that was
evolved.
politically expedient to do in 2008. I don't think he evolved.
He
I think he believed
evolved.
that then. He lied, I think. I don't think he evolved. I think he believed in gay marriage then. He just knew it wasn't electorally popular enough.
I agree with you, Blake.
I don't-
That's the part that evolved.
No, he just lied. He lied about his.
He didn't
his
say that
real
he wasn't.
feelings.
He didn't say that he didn't believe it.
Yes, he did.
That he was not for it
Okay, well, so my point is, I think he was.
because it's not ready.
No, he was for it. He just didn't, and that's fine. That's
He's for it as a person. He's not for it as a politician. He represents other people.
Is that being truthful?
Are we
though? Is that
forgetting
really
that's their
honesty?
job?
It's not honesty, though. I want people to be honest. I want people to be authentic. I think that, you can have an unpopular opinion, and I think people can still be okay with you on the margins. My point is, he did it for electoral reasons. That's fine. That's what politicians do. I expect them to do some of that. I'm not going to give him a hard time for it. But it's not that his position changed.
You're kind of giving him and Kamala a bit of a hard time now.
No, I'm giving Kamala a hard time because her flop is a lot different than just gay marriage. I mean, that's like the only thing I could point out that Obama evolved on things too, because I think being the president is different than wanting to be the president. I think there are some real realities.
Campaigning as a first timer,
Well,
and then you get in and you get some of those briefings that I saw them give. It's a different world.
Which is why we don't see a lot of foreign policy changes really between presidents. I think once you're met with the reality of what's going on, there's a lot less dichotomy there. But my problem with Kamala is that 4 years ago, the version we hear of her is she all of a sudden believes in none of those things. That is crazy, right? And for you to, or it's crazy that the media thinks that they can make us believe that. Now, I do think there's voters on the margins they can do that with. I just don't know that it's enough to swing an election, and I don't know that I don't know that it will work. Now, it might, because I think that our elections have become about absolutely nothing when it comes to the presidential level. I mean, we're really just talking about personalities and who we like more, and it really doesn't have to do with policy. I just think that's a dangerous way to vote for our chief executive of the executive branch and the military. I think that that's really dangerous what we're dealing with. I really want to know a lot more about where her and Trump are, and I just feel like we're not getting substance.
Here's a little bit, at least. Maybe it's not a lot, but here's a little bit. She's not a convicted felon.
I don't care about that. That lawfare thing has not worked, which is why they're trying not to
the military suckers and losers.
I agree. Yeah.
And that. So I want to address this.
She could be anyone else. Trump. She could be any Democrat, and those things be true. Okay, so that's my point. Is she's not told us who she is.
Any Republican, and those things would be true.
Well, yeah, that's my point. Is that she's just a placeholder. It doesn't even matter who she is, because she's not telling us any of her positions or her skills.
Then this election is already decided. And I've been saying that too. Republicans did not coalesce around Trump. Oh, yes, they did.
Yeah, he forced them to. I mean, I'm not saying this didn't happen.
Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, the former speaker that's now the former speaker, not the current speaker.
No, this really all goes back to the Senate. Those senators specifically, all they have to do is vote to remove him from office in the impeachment in January of 2021. And we don't have any of these problems right now, because there's no way
100%.
They would have forced Joe Biden would have been out in 2022 if we knew Trump couldn't run in 2024. There's no way they would that would have been a longer process. But and then same thing.
He would have been out. I think he would have been long since talked into what he's been talked into.
That's what I mean. Out of the race, where they would have an open primary and stuff like that, because they would know they need, because if Nikki Haley is the nominee right now, Kamala, there's no way this can be the game plan. There's no way it could be Kamala. I just don't.
That part's true.
Right?
GOP hates Trump. I'm not talking about you.
The GOP is Trump.
No, the GOP is Trump.
No, no. The Republican Party,
that's the GOP,
as we all know it, as it will probably return to someday,
based on what evidence.
Hates Trump and is not part of MAGA, except with what I said about that comment, that those who are coalescing around him anyway. Adam Kinzinger, Mitt Romney, Liz Cheney.
Where are they now?
These are all people that are no longer Republicans, Yergs, or at least on their way to no longer being.
So I guess what he's trying to say is Republicans did the Rhino. They coalesced around Trump because Trump called him a rhino because they actually had a brain.
Yeah. The Rhino is what is still the Republican Party.
So what MAGA likes to do, people who are big Trump fans, is they like to say anybody who disagrees with Trump is not part of the GOP, and they create this division. Like,
yes,
and that's what but they look at the Democrats and say, oh well, everybody's coalescing around Kamala. No, there is 100% as well, difference of opinions, just like she's trying to point out in the Republican Party. But to be honest, the Democrats are coalescing around Kamala, 100%, and that's just how it goes. But don't say that the GOP is not Trump. The GOP is against Trump. That's crazy.
That's not. That is absolutely crazy. 67% of
Well, we got to take a break. Yeah. And the commercial I'll play during that break I want you to take down, because I want you to listen to this podcast, and you'll see the Republican Party, the GOP, is against Trump. 99.1 WDJY 1490 is coming up in about 10 minutes. It's up the middle. I got to get to my videos. Hold on. There we go. It's up the middle. We'll be back after these words.
From iHeart Podcasts.
What in the hell is going on in here?
Everyone has their limits.
I'd never confronted a situation like this.
The numbers were being inflated and lied about and conflated.
I just thought it was just a really terrible, immoral thing for him to do.
A line they won't cross.
I was stunned, and I just said to him, no.
We're killing people. What exactly are we doing here?
I remember him saying, in this 007 evil villain kind of way, this is the beginning of a process.
You may never have to face that decision. When you find yourself at that line,
Thoughts racing, hearts racing, emotions are all over the place.
They could be harassed, they could be imprisoned, they could be killed.
Somebody needs to just, for once, give everybody the whole truth.
I'm like, this is evil.
and the only person who can sound the alarm is you.
She folded it up, put it in her pantyhose, and walked out of the building.
Yeah, I really am the world's dumbest criminal.
These are the whistleblowers.
I wasn't just going to sit silently by.
I was told you take your questioning black self and get it on up out of my facility because you're trouble.
The message is, if you are disloyal, if you speak out, you will pay.
This is what it's like when the president decides he wants to destroy you.
Bad things are going to happen to him. You're anti-American. You are a disgrace to our country. He should be prosecuted.
When power corrupts, conscience is the last line of defense.
Is it ever too late to do the right thing?
We talk about institutions, but they're really about individual people.
The responsibility drops in everybody's lap.
I'm Miles Taylor. The Whistleblowers premieres Thursday, July 13th on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Check out Miles Taylor and the Whistleblowers. I've referenced that plenty of times throughout Up the Middle, Both Sides Now, and Yerg's Tonight. He does an excellent job telling the stories of various people who blew the whistle on the Trump administration and their reasons why, personal and professional, as well as the consequences that these people paid to get the truth to the public. Check out the Whistleblowers on Apple, iHeart, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. The July date that he mentioned is from 2023, and season 1 is complete. It's excellent, and it's still very relevant, probably now more than ever. So I certainly recommend that you give it a look. See you again. Hold on a second. I listened to the stations we're on during commercial breaks to make sure that we're still on those stations. And then
sorry, there's a box truck parked outside this window now, so it's just running. That's the sound that you hear in the background. So I apologize for the sound
what?
of the truck in the back, just like a truck, like a diesel truck is right outside this window, just idling. Like I don't know if they're unloading or something. And I said box truck. Yeah, so kind of annoying sound. Sorry.
So that podcast that we used as a commercial, I know it's 3 minutes long and probably not a real commercial, but that is an amazing job by Miles Taylor. If you remember back, I don't know if it was 2017 already, but maybe 2018, there was an op-ed in the New York Times that was written by Anonymous. And it was all kinds of info on the Trump administration by somebody supposedly from within the Trump administration.
We know who it is now. Yeah,
it was him.
Yeah,
it was Miles Taylor. It was the guy you just heard. He was the chief of staff for then Secretary Kelly, the 4-star general that would eventually become the chief of staff for the president. He was the chief of staff for DHS Secretary Kelly, and they talk about the adults in the room. You know, the senior people within the administration who tried to steer him in a decent direction. who tried to coach him and say, hey, we understand you're a rookie when it comes to all this. Let us help you. He wanted nothing to do with it. And it's just an amazing bunch of amazing stories, like I say in the conclusion to it. So, yeah, Opinion Chick is saying that Harris was not popular at all. Agreed. And even media, talked then. That's my point about the media and polls is they do stuff like that to keep themselves relevant. That's it. That's it.
Well, the media also has they're definitely in for the Democrats no matter what. So it's do whatever you got to do to be good for Democrats. And I think obviously at some point that did not behoove them. And now it does to elevate Kamala. I just think both of them it's really easy. Unity is overrated. And I think that both conventions tried to go for a total unity vibe. Like we are all on the exact same page. We have no disagreements between anyone in this room. And that makes it look like, oh, look, this is so well put together and stuff. But that's just not how parties are supposed to work. You're never going to have a broad coalition if you don't try to do coalition building. And part of coalition building is you're going to have different people with different opinions about how you solve the specific problems. I mean, you're going to have foreign policy hawks. You're going to have people that are more isolationist.
Get back to that.
Right. But my point is
back to compromise.
I'm not even talking about compromise. I'm just talking about arguing within a party. I'm talking about like within the Democratic Party. You go back to the 60s and there are, you've got the KKK in there. You've got you've got segregationists. You've got people that are absolutely anti, like pro-civil rights. You've got the Democratic Party was a very, very broad coalition. I would argue too broad in some places. You look at some of the racism stuff, you go like, well, that's not great. But that's what I wish the Democrats would do with the very not pro-Palestinian part, but the strictly pro-Hamas, anti-American stuff. I wish they would just put it arm's length because I think that it would only benefit from them. And I wish the right would do the same thing with any of the people. We just go like, no, that's not an opinion you get to have. You don't get to be pro-terrorism, anti-America. If you want to be, get out of here. Like, but we don't want, if we have to win if we have to get your vote to win, we don't want to win. That's what I wish someone would say and have the balls to do. Most people just don't.
Kinzinger, Mitt Romney, Liz Cheney.
Well, right. I mean, but these are all people that are getting kicked out of the party.
I don't like them though.
I'm so jaded on Trump that I won't discuss his policies moving forward or in his 4 years in office. There it is. He literally fulfilled his campaign promises last time.
Which ones?
You mean like repealing Obamacare or building a wall along the entire border
50 miles of wall? It's just 50 miles of wall that he built, by the way.
That fell over.
Just have to go ahead. He did not build an entire wall. He built 50 miles. Yeah. Honestly, Joe Biden has built not quite as much wall as he has, but he, now I want to say Joe Biden
built more bridges.
Let me put it this way.
All that infrastructure that Trump said he was going to do that nothing happened on.
Yeah, I mean, look, the truth is no one's doing anything. And even Joe Biden's not really accomplishing that much. I mean, like we've got $500 billion for electric chargers and they've installed 2 of them. So, I mean, this is like the federal government. My point in all of this is that I don't think the federal government is good at doing these things that both presidential candidates are promising they can do. And I think that's why people get so disappointed every 4 years and switch to voting for the other party is because the president can't possibly do all the things that Joe Biden's been promising, that Donald Trump's been promising, that Kamala Harris has been promising. It's not the president's job to do most of those things.
I said that.
But the problem is if they keep promising it and then they can't deliver because constitutionally they can't, or they don't have the majorities in, it's very likely, I would say at this point, that Republicans have to win one state to have a majority in the Senate. Of the 7 that are battlegrounds, essentially. That seems plausible at this point. And so Kamala Harris is going to have to work with Republicans. What I would love to see is someone get up there and go.
See them taking the Senate.
That's fine. And we'll see. It's going to be very close. Very, very close. No doubt.
It's not going to be close because it's close already.
No. It's going to be close because of the 7 states, they should favor Republicans, but again, because of the magnification of the GOP, there's bad candidates.
Here's one. Let me see if I can get this without screwing stuff up.
If they put up normal Republicans in those 7 states, Republicans would be on their way to almost having a filibuster-proof majority in the Senate.
Trump is not controlled by party. He is the party.
That's what I'm saying. Trump's picking these people and they're bad candidates.
I don't understand how I'm sorry, opinion chick. I think we'll be great friends. We'll probably have a couple beers together. It'll be great, but that I don't understand how somebody could think that is a real statement.
I also hate to break it to you. No one is controlled by the parties now. The parties are very, very, very weak. If anyone was controlled by the party, we would have adults. We'd have some real stuff getting done. That's not what's happening. It's
controlled by social media. It's controlled by media. It's controlled by clicks and dollars and donors.
And specifically
super PACs.
And specifically now it's small donors, which small donors are hyped up by outrage and stuff. And so that's why you're going to get, it's got to be all about feelings because they're trying to chase $5, $25, $100 donations from millions of people instead of getting some people that go wait a minute, your price control problem, that's our solution is a bad solution. I'm not going to give you money if I'm a major player or a business or something like that. So I think the problem, there's so many problems, but to pretend that Trump's not controlled by the party because he's completely taken over. He is the Republican Party, and there is nothing else that matters to Republicans
first
the establishment.
We just changed stations. Our usual switch on Friday. We got to welcome 1490 and everybody down here in the Tampa Bay, 1490 WWPR. Good news about that, by the way. I am in process of talking with WTAN, which is in the northern half of the Tampa Bay. 1490 WPR is in Bradenton, actually, and covers up to about Clearwater. WTAN starts in Clearwater and moves further north, but also kind of overlaps in the actual bay itself. And then they have 2 extensions that move west. So we're almost, if I can get this other station on board, we'll almost be all the way to Orlando and Tallahassee. And you need to start considering 5 days a week with me.
I hardly have the time to do
this
what
one
I'm doing right now. No, I mean, just in my content and stuff.
Yeah, we got to get that on Yerg's Radio too.
So here's my question for both of you. Matt's not in frame right now, but I assume he'll come back. Can anyone tell me what the Republican Party or the Democrat Party stand for? Can anyone tell me what either one of them do? Like policy-wise?
The biggest issue in this election is whether or not we're going to be able to vote again in 2028.
I don't think that's. I just think that's catastrophizing, and I've seen no evidence that that's going to happen.
I was there for the conversations.
Okay, but no, I'm saying, what are the parties?
And he said it.
As I'm saying,
we'll never have to vote again.
Yeah, I don't know
what somebody like Donald Trump means when they say that.
I'm not here defending Donald Trump. I'm saying, tell me what the Democrat Party is for right now. Tell me what their platform is, and tell me what the Republican Party platform is.
Republican Party is. Okay, Republican Party is Project 2025 and Agenda 47.
Which is what, by the way?
900 pages.
Yeah, but have you looked at it at all?
Yes.
It's not as scary as people are making out to be. It's mostly boilerplate Republican stuff from the past, which is probably
Let
why
me tell you how these people operate. And I'm not talking about a political party anymore. I'm talking about a clandestine organization, a spy agency, a terrorist organization. They don't say Hitler made that mistake. They don't say I'm going to take over the world. They insinuate bits and pieces. And they bring this group in because they like that bit. And they bring another group in because they like that bit over there on page 500 or page 900 or whichever page.
I tune out right when somebody compares anything to Hitler. I apologize.
Yeah, I think this is ridiculous. You think Donald Trump has the wherewithal to play 4D chess like this? I think you're wrong about his intelligence level.
No, he he has the people to do it for him.
Who are the people? Tell me who these smart people are.
His kids.
You think his kids are smart enough to pull this off?
No, but
I saw down from Junior. He's
and why?
No,
why and why did it not
the
happen?
ones that are messengers.
Why did it not happen in his first term then? Why did he not? Why did he not end voting in 2024?
He's got 3 judges that he put there personally on the Supreme Court.
That's his job, by the way. It's his constitutional job to do that. People are acting like he did something nefarious. He didn't.
Correct.
He 3 judges who
But
have not.
You want to talk about nefarious? You want to talk about nefarious in identical situations? Obama could have nominated one of those judges within the last year of his 8th year. And Mitch McConnell said no.
We know all about this. Yeah, I know. Mitch McConnell.
Okay. So Mitch McConnell said no, that the new president should do it. And unfortunately, it wasn't Hillary. So now in the 4th year of Trump's, and what was at that point likely going to be the last, he was in the exact same thing. And Mitch McConnell couldn't get that 3rd one in fast enough.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm fine with saying.
Now,
that
tell me how Trump doesn't control the entire what's left of the Republican Party.
Well, I don't think.
I know you said that he does.
I think Mitch wanted more conservative judges. I mean, that was Mitch. Mitch got that win, not Donald Trump. First of all, Mitch McConnell should get the credit for it or the blame, but not Trump.
Just like Hillary Clinton should really get the credit for the Affordable Care Act because she said it needed to be done back when she was the first lady.
Well, or Mitt Romney for doing it in Massachusetts first. My point, here's what I'm asking. I'm asking you to tell me what the Republican platform is and tell me what the Democratic platform is.
Democrats want to continue the infrastructure repair that they've been doing very successfully.
She didn't say one thing about infrastructure last night.
Pete Buttigieg did.
My point, but okay, so what is infrastructure then? And why hasn't it been built out over the last 4 years with Biden very well? Because it hasn't.
Absolutely, it has.
Okay, we had an FAA break.
I have 5G phone coverage. I didn't even know it.
That's not infrastructure. That's private.
Yes, it is.
Yes, of course, that's infrastructure. Blake, stop.
Okay. So infrastructure. Okay, I'll give you infrastructure. What else?
You need to part that.
Thanks for giving us infrastructure, Blake. Thanks for giving that to us.
What is the platform?
I just told you some of it
changed from the last 4 years, right? Don't we all agree that
the last price gouging?
How? That's a terrible policy. But okay, so she's going to bet. Okay,
you didn't ask me how good it was. You said to give it to you.
Okay, so she's going to control price gouging, which we've already had the emergency pandemic. So just in case another one comes along, she'll be able to control price gouging. Good to know.
Or how about the inflation that everybody's bitching about?
Well, what's her plan for lowering inflation?
Control price gouging.
That's not how inflation works, though. That's not a plan.
It's part of it.
It's not.
It's here's exactly what the oil industry did. They raised the price of gas because they can. And in fairness to Trump or Biden, they have nothing to do with the price of gas.
It's so much more complicated than that, but okay. Yeah, that's fair enough. You're right. They don't have anything to do with it.
You want to get into macroeconomics now in the remaining 50 minutes that we got?
Well, no, but I don't believe that. Yeah, president should,
because they can. And then when they lower it, they don't lower it to what it used to be. Gas around here was as much as $3.80 a gallon.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about gas
down to $3.20.
There's a reason they don't include it on the consumer price index is because it's so volatile and it's so connected to world events and what's happening in Saudi Arabia and OPEC, and oil and gas is very, very economically complicated. And so it's really foolish for presidents to take credit for it when it's good because they're going to get the blame for it too. And really presidents should go, I don't really have anything to do with gas prices. That's what but my point is, tell me what the platform is. 10 years ago, we could tell me what the Democratic platform is. And I just don't think we can now. Most people can't define it anymore.
I gave you 3.
Right. But those are all things that Trump has talked about too. So what's the difference between these two
about stopping price gouging? Trump did talk about infrastructure.
Yes, basically, he talks about it via tariffs.
Accomplished.
He's talked about infrastructure. Infrastructure week it was supposed to come next week all the time. My point is, both parties are talking about the same things basically, but they're without really telling but they're not really.
Thing.
but they're not telling us what the daylight is between them. And they're wanting us to pick someone based on feeling, not based on any sort of like, no, this is how we solve inflation. Or they're not even really saying they have a difference of opinion on what the problems are, which I think is kind of crazy. Like the fact that that Kamala Harris last night was talking about the border as if Democrats have been concerned about the border at all until it became a polled issue that's like hurting them really bad. They're saying the same thing as Trump.
Let me just say about these polled issues, and I have a problem with that argument because it's like I only care about something when it's polled and the people start caring about it. But that's literally what a democracy is for. Is people are representatives for, and put into places because the people are starting to care about something, and therefore your opinions change and you reflect the will of the people. And so, but we use that as a negative, like, hey, the people care about this, and therefore now you start caring about this. But that's exactly how it's supposed to happen.
No, well, I mean, I would argue it goes a little differently. You're supposed to look at what people care about and offer your solutions for that problem they care about. My point is, right now, there's no.
I think that's an amendment to what I said. But what a lot of people say is like, well, you didn't care about that until people started caring. Well, yes, that's what you're supposed to do. As a representative democracy, you're supposed to care about those things that people care about. Then, asterisk, offer your solution, and they vote on your solution. I agree with that.
And so good politicians like Bill Clinton did that in the 90s. He saw where the country wanted to go. He saw what their opinions were about problems. And he said, okay, I've got to tackle that problem if I want to get reelected. And he came out and worked with Republicans to do it. And so, and sometimes because he cared about getting the middle of the country. He really cared about
this goes back to what you guys keep saying about feelings and stuff like that. And it goes back to my comment last week about Harley Davidsons. Like feelings are more important than the truth anymore. And thank you, Opinion Chick. We are a republic. Because I bet she's saying that I said democracy and she's going to say republic.
We're not a democracy. Republic. We're both.
Oh my God. Can we just mute her already?
We're both.
I'm done with that one.
I told you not to read the stuff unless I put it on the screen.
We're both.
Well, we can go into that one in a little bit. But no, it's the same thing I said about like the Harleys. When I go ride my bike, I ride a Honda. I know, shame on me. I really want to get a new bike, but a lot of people buy their bikes based off feelings, based off brand, based off emotions. To be perfectly honest with you, I've ridden Harleys, I've ridden Indians, I've ridden Hondas, and the Hondas are honestly, they ride a little bit better than all of them. I feel like even for a cheaper price, they just ride better. And that's maybe just me, but most people won't get and so you have this emotion, branding, marketing, social media aspect of all of this that has taken over policy. And this is why last time I ran on policy over politics, and that did not work. People wanted feelings over politics.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that's dangerous. I think that it's a fine way to buy a pair of shoes or a motorcycle potentially, but it's a terrible way to pick the people that lead our country. And
that's how we got Trump in 2016.
Right. And there's almost no daylight.
Like Hillary.
Exactly. There's almost no daylight, really. Like I said, they're both are saying they care about education. Both are saying they care about infrastructure. Both are saying they care about freedom. Both are saying they care about the border. Both are saying they're just hitting the issues that people care about. I'll fix the economy, even though both of their plans right now economically, all economists go, those are terrible, terrible plans. Trump's now floating a 20% tariff on all imports. That would wreck the United States economy. Much worse than price control.
He does not want to be president.
I don't like going into the
psychological. Talking about how people feel. Harris cuts Trump's lead in Texas in half. But here's the important part. Scroll down to, if I can find that same spot again, damn it. Actually, it is very similar to what we saw earlier this summer. Right now, Senator Cruz is leading 46.6 points. Allred is at 44.5 points.
Right, I saw that.
Almost exactly 2 points. Cruz is only leading by 2 points, which again is the same as what we'd seen earlier this summer. That's not the type of spread you would expect.
Well, in that polling as well, there's about, I think, 5.6% undecideds as well in this poll, and plus a 2% margin of error. So that's basically a toss-up at this point.
100%. Texas is essentially a toss-up. Florida has become a toss-up.
Yergs, I've noticed you love polls when they say Trump's going to lose, but you
I
say
love
they're nonsense if he says he's ahead. Which one is it? You can't say that polls don't matter at all, and then you keep citing polls to prove that Kamala's this great
I'll answer that question. I love polls when they prove you wrong.
Well, that's ridiculous. Okay. If you want the proof, 2016 and 2020, Trump ran lower.
Wait. Can we acknowledge this really quick? Can we congratulate Yergs on finally becoming a media station?
Why? But just by saying what he believes.
By only using facts when it benefits him.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is,
congratulations, Yergs, you made it.
We either look at good polls or we don't look at good polls. You can't have one or the other. Okay, look,
cheers.
The problem is, Harris has gained on Trump, but she is still behind in most of the swing states. Now the margin of error,
it's not even close to true.
I mean, I'm looking at them, Yergs. National polling, she's gone up, but in the swing states, she's still. I'll pull them up. I mean, give me a second.
Look, again, I agree with everybody, and it's not. I think we're still looking at polling way too early. We're still going to have an October surprise. Kennedy just dropped out. We have to have a whole new swath of data from that.
Yep.
Yeah, which if he endorses Trump, I think that's gonna actually make a difference.
And I don't know how, but the thing is, I don't know how it's going to make a difference because people who voted for Kennedy didn't want to vote for Trump or Biden. Kamala put in the mix, and I think the most interesting thing here is that and what people aren't talking about is Nicole Shanahan. She divided the Silicon Valley rich people voter base, donor base, because JD was picked. JD got the Teal support. JD had the all-in guys. Trump had the all-in guys. There's a lot of Silicon Valley money going in there in the JD connection, and then Shanahan, obviously, with the Sergey Brin connection, being his ex-wife, and her being Silicon Valley startup entrepreneur herself. I bet you there's a lot of very silent dinners in the circles that they were running in, and that's why the Kennedy support went down, the money went down, and that they're getting kind of forced out and now supporting Trump. So I think that's a whole interesting thing that's happening, but we actually don't know how this, let's just call it 5 points, because remember, Kennedy was up to 20 points and Kennedy messed it up for himself. Let's just be honest with that. Kennedy could not just, stay on brand or even make a brand and then stay on talking points. He got Nicole Shanahan, which we all saw was a money grab. Trump undercut that with JD Vance. And then even so after you get all of this, I don't know how this is going to shake out. I think that's going to be very interesting. So these polls, I think, are going to be, I say we just burn them all. And then we re-poll about 2 weeks out from the election.
No, but I mean, the ones that have happened since.
Then the media is not going to be relevant. And now that I'm part of that media firestorm, I got to keep my relevance.
Hey, I want to look at people that I don't know where this poll's coming from. I don't know what the source of it. I prefer
Statista.
That's kind of important to know the source of the poll.
I want to know the source of it. And I don't
really.
Hey,
facts don't matter.
Here's the thing. I don't really like one specific poll. I really like to see aggregates or people that analyze multiple polls and say, so like Real Clear Politics Average is a pretty good one. Nate Silver does.
5 minutes, we don't have time to do that.
Right. But here's what I'm going to tell you. Nate Silver has
your thing about her falling behind in all swing states. Arizona, she's behind by 0.2 percentage point.
Nate Silver has her up.
We can call that a tie.
Nate Silver has her up in Arizona.
I don't care about Nate Silver. I care about the one that's on the screen.
He's pretty freaking smart. This one's not as smart as Nate Silver, I promise you.
Okay. We'll get to that in a minute.
Okay.
Mama Kamala's boyfriend is speaking right now.
See, that's what's gross about this, though, is that you obviously are in the tank for her. You're not really in the middle.
I've been.
I know. So, like,
I've never hidden the fact that Donald Trump is a traitor.
That's fine. I will never vote for him. I feel the same way.
What do we got left? Kennedy's out now.
I know, but my point is, I'm not
going to vote for Ross Perot. He's dead.
I know, but I believe the same thing you do about Donald Trump. I don't think he should be president again. I don't think he's qualified. I don't think he has good ideas. Beyond that, I think he's morally reprehensible. I think he's dangerous. I think he clearly doesn't care 100%. About our national security. All of that I agree with, but I'm not going to find the facts that make me feel better about it. I'm going to tell the truth.
The only fact that you need is that if the rest of the country gets behind Kamala the way the Democratic Party, for the most part, has already done, will get Trump out. and keep him out.
But that's a hope.
That's all we need to do.
That's a hope
We
strategy.
can start over.
It's easy to do that with the Democratic convention. It's easy to hand out the American flags and and we love Jill. And it's easy to hand that out to thousands of people in an arena that you checked IDs on the way in and you didn't let anyone in that would disagree with you. Okay. That's harder to do in the general population. And I'm not saying they're running a bad campaign. I don't know.
Actually, all 4 nights had more viewers in the Democratic convention than any of the Republican convention by millions.
That makes sense. I'm saying it's got to translate to votes, though. That's all I'm saying. And if
it doesn't matter who gets what votes. It all depends on who gets what votes in what states. It doesn't matter. It's 10,000 votes in Arizona, 10,000 votes in Georgia. It doesn't matter if there's millions of votes more that comes out for Kamala. It doesn't matter.
The whole convention last night was aimed at 80,000 people in Pennsylvania.
Ross for boss.
12,000 people in Georgia. It's about Arizona. It's about Nevada. That's why she's doing the no tax on tips. That's why both Trump and her have embraced that, because they're trying to win Nevada. Let's be totally honest about what's happening.
I've been in the service industry already too.
I had to zoom in to see if it's
never
chick was
paid
my
taxes
mom.
on tips,
because literally, I think this could be my mom and her being the same person.
Stacey.
Oh, 100%, my mom. She's like, I voted for Ross Perot. I'm like, Mom?
So
is that you?
The point about this is,
you are right that like if with RFK dropping out, none of these polls matter anymore. If he drops out today, they're pointless now. I mean, because you don't know where his 3.8% is going to go, and that's going to make a difference.
We don't know. Even with the endorsement, we don't know. But I'm looking at 270towin.com. And I just found some, because I've been paying attention to this for the past couple of weeks, and I've been finding in industry that they're still now moving the Senate race and the Senate and the House quite a bit from the last time we spoke last week. They're calling Ohio a safe blue for the Senate, which was a toss-up just a couple of weeks ago. And so that's big. They're calling, there's a couple toss-ups in the House that was Ohio's 13 and Ohio's 11th district, which are both now either leading a little bit blue. And that's Marcy Kaptur and Amelia Sykes. Obviously, I'm paying attention to Ohio more than anywhere else. But I think that all of this is just pointing to that the popular vote is going to matter in these down ballot races quite a bit. So while I will say that it doesn't matter, it's going to come down to 10,000 votes in Georgia and 10,000 votes in wherever in Arizona. But when it comes to the popular vote, we're now at a 50-50 Senate. We're all, we might even get the Senate. We're now at a House that is looking like it's trending blue, and so
Democrats should win the House. Republicans should win the Senate. Now, either one of those things, because the margins are so slim right now, could flip. Really, Republicans could keep the House, and Democrats could take the Senate. The problem with Democrats in the Senate specifically is there are 7 states that are kind of battleground. It looks like right now, polling wise, Montana is the only one Republicans would win. But if they win that, they've got 51. So even if Democrats have to win all 7 of those just to be 50-50 split. So it's definitely, Senate is more advantageous to Republicans. House is more advantageous to the Democrats, because I think that Republicans only have a 2-seat majority right now. Is that right? I forget with all the retirements and things that have happened. It was 4. I think it's down to 2 now that Gallagher is gone. I can't
keep track anymore either.
It's going to be really close on those things. And my honest, what I really want to happen, if I could like wish cast, like Yergs is doing about Kamala winning, is I would like to see whoever wins the presidency not have the House and Senate. I don't care if they only don't have one of those chambers. I just think that we've got to get back to someone's going to have to actually work with the other side. I would like to watch Kamala put her money where her mouth is and actually sign a border bill that had what I would argue was full of Republican wins, things that if you would have told someone 20 years ago, Republicans are going to get a border bill that has X, Y, and Z in it, they would have said, you must have super majorities and everything. But the truth is Biden was just desperate to fix it for a campaign issue and knew he needed to do something about it. If Kamala really puts her money where her mouth is, she said in the speech, she would have signed that bill. And you have a Senate controlled by Republicans, and they've got to work with each other, or let's say both chambers are controlled by Republicans, and they hand her that same bill. I think that would be good for America, to actually see people working with the other side and actually getting stuff done. I would like to see that. I don't have a lot of confidence that's what would happen. I think we just go back to gridlock and presidents signing executive orders they know are illegal. But that's the only. I don't want anyone. Joe Biden thought he had a mandate to be FDR, which is ridiculous. He barely had he didn't even have a majority in the Senate. He had Kamala Harris breaking the ties in the Senate, and he was trying to cram all sorts of stuff down Americans' throats that I don't think they wanted. And that's why I think that, frankly, he was unpopular. And that's why there were so many double haters.
I think I just sent you another one. And something that I've been looking at very closely with my campaign is how unproductive the 118th Congress is. And you're Blake, you're saying that you really want to have, the House and the Senate split up with the executive branch. But I think just the nature of Congress anymore and the nature of our politics will become less effective. I don't think that we're going to have compromise. I think what we're going to see is we're going to see stonewalling. We're going to see ousting of speakers and what we've been seeing for the past 2 years, and we're not going to get anything done. And so I don't think compromise is a solution anymore. If the Republicans don't take the House or the Democrats don't take the House, nothing's going to move. Nothing.
You say that, but quite a bit of stuff happened under divided government under under Biden's.
We don't have Obama anymore.
No, I said Obama. I meant Biden. Over the last 4 years, the Congress has actually signed a lot of bills. Most of them were. I
would say it's in the first two, though. It was 2020 to 2022,
yeah.
and then we had a huge. And honestly, it was only the 118th Congress is only around 15% as productive as any other Congress going back the past 40 years.
Yeah, and I would argue Congress has been too productive sometimes.
And I can see that argument. I honestly can see that. But look, only 34 bills were passed the last year. And again, maybe we passed too much legislation. That's a discussion for another day. I can get on board with that. But what I am saying is, I think that it is. I don't think that we're going to see compromise. That's what I'm saying. I don't think that having this split up House where we're going to talk and we're going to get on the floor and debate, that's not going to happen. It's going to be stonewall, and right. Nothing that we want to have happen will happen.
You're
because
right,
the things that we want to have happen are important issues. The border is an important issue. We already saw that Trump was stonewalling the border compromise because of election reasons. We see that the Israel-Gaza ceasefire allegedly is being reported that there is being stonewalls on that ceasefire and compromise because of election issues.
Well,
and so
because of Hamas, let's be clear. It sounds like us and Israel and other people keep coming up with things that Hamas just won't take. It sounds like there is no situation they'll take because they want the destruction of Israel. But I do think that's a good example, though. Ukraine funding, Israel funding, that kind of stuff. When the rubber hit the road of here's a crisis, Congress acted with all of those kind of things so far. And I'd argue even the border.
We actually got to get into some of those things. Let's actually.
I think the border was another situation where it got so bad that they realized we've got to do something. And I realized Congress didn't end up doing it. But
sir, I don't want to say that. I don't think that what I wasn't talking about was Hamas and a negotiation between Hamas and Israel. What I am saying is Trump. It is reported that Trump is trying to throw a monkey wrench into those ceasefires because it will bode well for the Democrats if they get a ceasefire done before the election. And this is going to how it looks like for the border policies as well. So again, we're putting politics over policy.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that this is what we're going to get more of.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I don't think Trump has any control over the ceasefire deal right now at all because it has nothing to do with Congress whatsoever.
Like he didn't have any control over the border deal?
He did.
He absolutely does. I mean, he's still going to... look, come on, Blake. This thing about easy negotiation. Blake, I'm running for to be your congressman or whatever. I'm going to give you a call because you're mayor of wherever you live in Oklahoma City or whatever. I say, Blake, mayor, I'm going to get elected. It's possible I get elected. You do this, we're going to have some serious problems. So maybe you just want to hold it off until after the election. And then you're going to be like, you know what? Do I really want to have 4 years of serious problems? Maybe I just, bite my tongue for another 72 days and let's figure this out. That's not like Trump doesn't have power. That's just a simple phone call saying you better bite your tongue for 72 days, bro.
No, you're absolutely right. But he doesn't have control over specifically because Qatar, Israel, Hamas and the UN and our connection to that is completely at the executive level. It's not Congress. Congress had to vote on the border bill, and so he could kill it by telling them to not vote for it or to not even bring it to the floor.
But what he's saying here in this headline, Trump says he told Netanyahu to end Gaza war, but criticizes ceasefire call. That's all vintage Trump. Remember,
really take a position.
Netanyahu is also far right and is much closer to Trump than he ever will be with Biden.
Right, but like, what is this? This sentence means nothing. It's because Trump doesn't really have any policy. He's an idiot, frankly. He doesn't care about this stuff.
He's an idiot when it comes to a border too. He said he was going to build a 2,000-mile long wall and have another country pay for it. How'd that work out for him?
Yeah, I would argue at least there's some sort of like step-by-step process there. This is nonsense.
Come on.
I'm saying this is nonsense.
You know what my dad would say to this? You talk like somebody with a paper asshole.
No.
That means nothing, and so does your comment.
No, I don't think it doesn't. He knew.
I just wanted to say, like, coming from a gay guy, that's a hell of an insult. Having a paper asshole.
What I'm saying is, with the border, he proposed, we've got a problem at the border, we should build a wall. Now, saying that Mexico is going to pay for it was always ridiculous for sure. But this sentence right here, Trump says he told Netanyahu to end Gaza war, but criticizes ceasefire calls. That doesn't make any sense. So he wants the war to end, but he doesn't want the war to end. That's my point. This is nonsense because he doesn't understand foreign policy. I've never seen anything that shows me he understands foreign policy or any of these kind of things. He likes strongmen. He wants to be a strongman. I really do think he believes he could end the Ukraine conflict in a day, because I think he's a lunatic. And this is not me trying to this is me saying he really thinks, well, I'm smart enough and everyone likes me, so I can get things done. That's not how this works in government. It's never has been. And I think all of his wins from his first, I've said this over and over again, all of his wins were from someone else. Mitch McConnell is the reason you got 3 Supreme Court justices. Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan are the reason you got your tax cuts. None of these things were anything to do with Trump's genius, or like Trump even cared about some of these things. Most of the things he didn't care about were the things he got wins on. Now, I will say, when push came to shove and he was like given the opportunity to like take out Soleimani, he did it. So, okay, good. He listened to people around him. He has things like that for sure. He obviously put good people. I think Kelly was a good chief of staff. I think Milley was a good general. I think he surrounded himself with actually people that were good at the job, and sometimes he listened to them. He tended to do well when he listened to them and not when he didn't. And I don't like that either one. These are really, especially when it comes to the foreign policy stuff, that to me matters the most about the president. Frankly, the president can't control gas prices. They should stop promising it. They can't control the economy. They should stop promising that kind of stuff. I would love to see these two people come out and say, look, we are on the verge of, to call this the most important election of not just our lifetimes, but last night Kamala Harris said it's the most important election in the history of the country. I think that's hyperbole and ridiculous. It's absolutely just completely ridiculous.
It's called campaigning, sir.
I know, but that's ridiculous. My point is, we are really.
Here's the stats to prove it. That's her opinion in her speech.
But it's ridiculous. Do you know what really is true though? We really are in a potential worldwide conflict of war. Like, that's a real thing.
We're already in a worldwide conflict of war.
We're not in it yet. We're not in it. We don't have soldiers in it.
Tell that to the people in Ukraine.
The United States of America are not
hostages in Gaza.
No, yeah, we have hostages. We should talk about them a lot more, but we don't have boots on the ground in any of these places. And that is a huge difference. That's a world war.
So glad you said that. For all the people in the world who are saying that, will you stop sending me texts? It pops up over my screen.
Oh, you'll deal with it.
No, keep doing it if you got something. But for everybody that says we should be spending this money at home, we don't care about Ukraine. Have you forgotten where we were 250 years ago when we needed the help of France, who at that time was a bigger world power? We would not be here today if it wasn't for France.
Well, and honestly, they don't have that opinion about Israel. This isn't about helping other people. This is about they don't like Ukraine because Donald Trump told them not to like Ukraine. My better argument for that would be this isn't about Ukraine when it boils down to it. I don't want to sound cold-hearted. This is really about our interest. It's not about Ukraine's interest. It is in our interest.
Gets into a war for that reason.
What?
Everybody gets into a war because of their own interests.
Right, but that's my point. It is in our interest to defend Ukraine. It's not about defending Ukraine because it's the right thing to do, although I think that is also true. The reason we should defend Ukraine is because it's in our interest.
Oh, 100%, Blake. Everybody can see through that. It's a proxy war with Russia to weaken them in some way, shape, or form, using populace of Ukraine. 100%.
But I want to see presidential candidates that say that. I don't want to see, like, my point is, like, Kamala Harris should come out and say, like, here's the reason we should support Ukraine, not because it's the right thing to do, but because Putin is a dangerous person. If he rolls through Ukraine, he's going to get Europe, and then we're going to have to put boots on the ground if he attacks a NATO country. And I want to protect American troops.
That's it.
No one is saying that, and Trump honestly, Trump isn't even giving the opposite thing. Because I believe you can be a rational isolationist too. Like, it's not where I'm at, and I think sometimes it's worth saying. But I can see how, like, the Iraq and Afghanistan wars have made people gun shy to jump into a conflict. I totally get that. You can have a reasonable argument on that side. We're not getting that from Trump or his campaign. And that's what bothers me, is that, and same thing with Israel Gaza. She did really good on the first half of her Gaza part of her speech last night, which was like 3 sentences. So it wasn't very long. She said it right. She said, what happened on October 7th should not be able to happen again. And we are going to defend Israel's right to defend themselves. And we're going to help them in every way we can. Full support. But then she goes to the next sentence and says, and we're for Palestinians and we want them to have self-determination. Well, you've got to mention that, like, Hamas has to be eliminated. That has to be part of the game plan. You have to explain that, because you have to go, look, Hamas is oppressing the Palestinian people inside of Gaza.
Right.
And
I think what people want her to say is that 40,000 civilians don't have to die for that going after terrorists. I think that's the issue.
Right, but what she should say, I would like to see someone come out and say, Israel has a 1 to 1.5 combatant to civilian ratio of deaths in this conflict so far. The average worldwide, based on the UN and even ours, the last time we were fighting ISIS, is 1 to 8 or 9. So 9 civilians for every 1 combatant.
Dude, and it's totally horrific.
That's the normal. I'm just saying, Israel, we're not giving Israel enough credit for how.
I don't think nobody should give anybody credit when they're killing civilians and kids.
I think we should give people credit when they're.
I don't never give them credit, and I think that Blake, I hope you take that back.
What do you want them to do?
And I also think that we should acknowledge
there's understanding collateral damage, and there's giving somebody credit for causing it.
Rephrase that, dude. I think that's very not the right way to say that.
For reducing civilian casualties from a 9 to 1 ratio to a 1.5 to 1 ratio. I think you should get credit for that. People are studying this right now in urban warfare, especially urban warfare. This is impossible to do in most urban warfare. Like I said,
that's the exact reason why we're already in a world war, because it's not the same as it was 70 and 90 years ago.
Well, I mean, I would not say that we're in a World War III right now. I would say that, like, Russia and China and us and Iran and these people would have to actually be fighting each other, and it's still just a proxy thing right now.
They're already fighting each other. Hear me out. Russia is supporting Syria.
Oh no, yeah, those guys are.
We've forgotten about, because Trump thinks we got out of that, and in all actuality, we haven't. Russia is supporting Syria. Russia has people in North Africa. Why do you think that is?
Well, yeah, and obviously Russia and China and North Korea
because
and Iran
as soon as we move into the Middle East from the Mediterranean, they're going to try to surround us.
Yeah, but the point, I don't
there
think
is already in full action a world war.
Well, I would not say
enough for simple people who only know the World War II and World War I to actually call it a world war? No.
I don't think any
people on those front lines in Ukraine who are dead, or those people in Russia who have Ukrainian control over them now, that this is not a world war.
No one that I've ever heard is calling this a world war right now. It's not
agree.
Because they don't know how to.
It's not a world war. No war historian would call this a world war right now.
That is very. I think that's very privileged if we're calling this a world war right now.
There are not even 2 major powers fighting each other right now. Not even. There are no 2.
There are.
Who?
You don't call Hamas a major power?
No, they're a terrorist group covering Gaza. They're not a major power at all.
I'm not saying a legitimate one.
No, they're not. Hezbollah is way more legit than Hamas is. Hamas is using civilians to shield themselves from. That's what Hamas is. These are terrorists. They're not following any of the rules of war.
What do you think the Viet Cong did in Vietnam?
It's not the same thing. It is. It's
Why?
not.
Because Hamas isn't in a uniform?
Yeah, I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
Partially, yes.
Welcome to modern day World War III.
I just don't. No, you find me a war historian that calls this World War III already, and I'll join you. But like, I don't. There's.
I don't need to find a war historian when I've got the entire Joint Chiefs.
There are no major. There are no. What Joint Chief is saying this is World War III right now?
They all told Trump that would happen. They all told him not to get out of Syria. Unanimously.
That doesn't mean it has happened. Because I just don't think that's a. I don't think that's a fair. Like,
can we move on? Because I actually there's a couple comments from Opinion Check that I would love to comment on. I hear your comments on. Two, and we talked about this before, but I think that she deserves two of these. Number one is where is it? Bills should stand alone. I stopped pork. I agree with that. And the other one is if we were energy independent, we can control gas prices. I hate that comment because we were just talking about price caps and the gouging thing that Kamala Harris says, and now she says that if we were energy independent, we could control gas prices. Basically, you want socialism or price controls, but only for things that you wanted. This doesn't make sense. That's not the market.
But I know where she's going with that is that she's going to go back because we've had this conversation. I believe that she's going to try to give credit to Trump and say that we were energy independent then, which is nowhere close to true. Especially
we're producing way more oil now.
We're drilling now.
We drilled more oil last year than any other time ever in the history of the world for any other country. It has nothing to do with the president. It's because the technology has changed and they can drill more.
Not since Trump.
Yes, it has. It has. It's the horizontal well drilling is gigantic.
Yeah.
We've drilled more. It's a huge.
We have way more drilling now. But I think another thing that's not acknowledged too is that we're not exporting, or we don't drill the same kind of oil as they do in the Middle East and Venezuela and stuff like that. We have something called, I think it's called like light sweet crude.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And light sweet crude gets refined differently and it's used for different practices than the crude that's coming out of the Middle East.
Yeah,
and so
98%,
we don't have the refining.
98% of all the actual motor oil in on the roads today comes from Pennsylvania.
Well, and most of our imported oil that is for use in gasoline is from Canada and Mexico. It's not the nefarious kind of stuff that we talked about. The point about oil, you can't be completely energy independent. It's not possible because of the way different oil is in different parts of the world and the way we export some of it, we import some of it. We do net export more than we import, though. So some people call that energy independence. I would say that qualifies.
That's the other problem is that there's no actual definition.
Well, yeah, you cannot possibly
using to say is energy independent.
Yeah, and you can't control gas prices even at that point, because even if we drilled everything here, if the oil prices went up worldwide and it motivates someone to sell their oil to another country that's willing to pay them more, they would. This happened with price controls in the 1970s with Nixon. He tried to control beef costs. Well, cattle farmers just sent their cows up to Canada instead, where they could get more money for them, and we had shortages. So you can't tell people that's and to be fair, I think Trump and the MAGA people want this kind of nationalism now, where you would say, oh, local producers can't export stuff, and would make some sort of export taxes on stuff and trying to do tariffs. This is a terrible way to do economics. And I would love to send Opinion Chick Thomas Sowell's basic economics book, because I think she would learn a lot from it, because you cannot, this is a global market, whether you like it or not. The idea that we can just protect American jobs for forever from globalization is foolish. We benefit from globalization more than any other country in the world. That's why we're the richest country in the world. It's because we actually benefit from trade. If we have true free trade, you're going to lose some steel jobs. You're going to lose some auto jobs. Democrats and the unions kind of need to maybe break up at some point too, and be like, look, maybe some of these jobs aren't good for Americans to have anymore. Let's get a different job. Let's get you most of the reason that there's less manufacturing jobs in America is not because of outsourcing. It's because of technological advances. It's robots. It's the assembly lines do not require as many people as they used to. People don't understand any of this stuff at a basic level. It would be great if we had presidential candidates that could explain some of it to them, but we don't.
Yeah.
I think that's the first time Blake actually ended on a period in a gap in his sentence.
Yeah.
I want to say congratulations, Blake. It took only about 8 months of doing this to do that.
I was going to say, can I take this graphic off now? Do we no longer need that?
Yeah, I think that's fine right now.
No, we still need that.
Or you know what? The other one I haven't been using was the.
Can you just read, instead of saying time's up, just say Blake ! With the clock under it.
Yeah.
And then put.
Yeah. The only one I've ever used it for.
I just think I hear these same things from this. I hear the same arguments over and over again, and it's like when you meet them with a basic, like, well, actually, like I said, that oil stuff is not that hard. I don't understand all the complexities of the oil industry and the global market that it is, but even just knowing those tidbits of information, I go, oh, well, this is. I don't have the simple opinion that we can just drill all the oil here and refine it and use it without exporting or importing anything. And my point is, we are not educating people well enough. This needs to start in elementary.
I think my overall thesis on this is, and because Opinion Chick sent something else in the chat, should we be controlled by OPEC? ? I think that here's my opinion is I think that we really need to take a hard stand as a country on people that are not actually engaged in the free market and are subsidizing their own industries to dilute our markets. And I think that that's where the Trump tariff conversation becomes interesting and also kind of wanted by some people, because you do see China flooding our markets with different goods and services based off of government subsidies. That they are propping up certain industries, and then they make cheap whatever we want to call it because of these subsidies, because of these government sponsorships of these industries, and they move it in here, and then we can't compete. OPEC, as far as I understand it, is basically government control, and Blake will be back in a minute, but government control from their point to control ebbs and flows, demand, and so on and so forth, and really manipulate our market. So if you have these countries that are not competing on the free market of supply demand in a fair manner, I do think that we have an issue of how do we address that, and who is controlling these different markets, and how do we combat that and make sure that people who want to play on a free market playing field, are welcomed into this global trade, or at least the American markets.
Yeah. So one of the things she pointed out too was she's trying to say that we don't know what Trump will do and that we're speculating. Well, yeah, we are still speculating because he didn't do any of it back in 2017 to 2020.
Yeah, and that's kind of my point, is that he had 4 years and he didn't do most of this stuff that he's promising he'll do. I'm like, well, why didn't you do it in your first 2 years? He had complete control of the House and the Senate for 2 whole years, and the only thing he really got done was the tax breaks, which I agree with the tax breaks. I think they were good.
No.
I think
You agree with $8 trillion more debt?
Kamala Harris does. The only thing she wants to change is the corporate tax rate. She wants to keep all of the other tax cuts. That's the only one she wants to change. So I mean, yeah, Kamala Harris agrees with Trump now. I mean,
I think it's part of it because of it being more of a compromise than anything.
Well,
we got to take another break before we leave for the day. 1490 WWPR. Another say goodbye to 99.1 for the day and everything else on the Mastiff Media Network. Get rid of all these comments. We'll be back after these words. Smell nasty. Do you want to freshen it up a little bit? Go to aromabypeter.com. Check out all of Peter's candles. It's what we burn here in Studio Yerg's. I'm burning right now leather scented candle. That's right, leather scented. So go to aromabypeter.com/Yerg's and check out his candles today.
I'm Jane Stahl, retired English teacher, and with my BFF, Susan Bebeck, we manage Studio B Fine Art Gallery in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. We showcase the art of hundreds of local artists, publish books of the poetry, prose, and art of local writers, offer classes, art parties, workshops, discussion groups, cater dinners. We've even hosted a wedding. And we're here to be the go-to place for friendship, learning, and fun in our community. Virtual tours of our exhibits are available right here on Yerg's Radio. Let us introduce you to some amazing art and artists.
Check out Jane Stahl and everyone at Studio B in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. Please visit our YouTube channel, Talk TV 24. How's your website doing? I'll tell you how mine's doing. It's awesome. Yergs.com is gotta be the best website for anybody in podcasting or any sort of broadcast solo journalist like me. How did I get that? Limit Break Digital. Limit Break Digital did my website with Yergs.com. They did YergerGroup.com. They take care of my marketing, my branding, and help me get the message out to you. Go to limitbreakdigital.com/Yergs for 10% off your next project. That's a $3,000 site, Yergs.com. And you can get 10% off that by just going to limitbreakdigital.com/Yergs today. Talk to Jay. That's my guy. We all got a guy, and Jay's mine. limitbreakdigital.com. Hey gang, it's Yergs. Right now, our country is about to embark on yet another controversial presidential election. I have an actual question, legitimate question, as a political scientist and historian by education. If you are a Trump supporter, I want to hear from you. I want to know what your appeal to Donald Trump is at this time. Please email me news, N-E-W-Z, at yergs.com. News, N-E-W-Z, at YERGZ.com. Thanks. Participants must be willing to provide their contact information, answer a series of questions, and then have their first name broadcast over the radio and social media relevant to Up the Middle.
Did we lose Matt?
I don't know. I got nothing in the chat saying he's going somewhere. Matrix, JD.
I guess my entire point, I guess, would be that my wrap up of the DNC was just that it felt like very little substance, and just like the Republican National Convention felt like very little substance. And I just feel like what we've resorted, all of our politics is completely feelings, and I just think that that's a bad way to be voters. I think that we are not doing what our civic duty is, and by just like being, which one do we want to have a beer with or something, I think that we are failing, and that's why we're doing. I think that's why people are so upset with the direction the country's going, is because they keep putting their hope in someone that promises them the moon and then can't deliver that. And until they shape up and figure out that that's a bad way to do politics, I don't see this changing. I do not see the snapback that you do. I hope I'm wrong. Never been more hopeful that I'm wrong. I do not think the Republican Party will just go back to being the normal Republican Party in 4 years if Trump loses.
Well, when I say the normal Republican Party, I mean the Republican Party without Trump.
Yeah, I don't.
Reagan's party? They're not Reagan's party now.
Right.
Because that's my point. I wanted to jump in earlier and say probably one of the, I don't know how to describe it, but it was a debate between Senior Bush and Reagan in that primary.
Yeah.
When they were asked about the border.
Right.
Both of them said to open it.
Yeah.
I challenge you to find a Republican that will say that today.
Well, I mean, obviously, things are going to change. Politics are going to evolve. The parties are going to evolve.
You're going to flip flop.
Well, I mean, no, I think there's actual evolution there. I mean, I really do think that the party, like the Democratic Party from the 1960s is not the Democratic Party from the 80s, is not the Democratic Party from the 2010s. It's there should be some pillars that are there, and there always are, but that's fine. I think things are going to change. The way our country is changes, technology changes. There's all sorts of things that change, and that I think allow the parties to say, well, now we have more information, or we tried that and it didn't work, or whatever. I just think that right now no one's really being very serious about what those policies are, and to be fair, the voters don't seem to care about them. So it does go back to where I think the voters have to demand better from our candidates, and we're not.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. But
yeah,
they're not doing it, taking the time to educate themselves either.
Yeah, we have 6 minutes left. Well, what's the hot takes?
Well, I got to end a pissing match today with some kid who wanted to call a black man, by the way, who wanted to call Kamala Harris not black. And I'm like, dude, why is this even? So, of course, I and another person called him a Trump fan, a Trumper. And he said, everybody says, as soon as you disagree with one, that means you're with the other. And I'm like, well, that's the argument the other's making. So if you don't want to be associated with them, stop supporting what they're saying.
Well, I mean, here's one thing about that specifically that I think is it's stupid when Donald Trump does it. But if a black person said this in a vacuum where Donald Trump had not said the same thing, different people define blackness differently. And so who am I to say what they can define it as? I understand if someone said culturally, she's not the same as me. She had immigrant parents. Her dad's from Jamaica. Her mom's from India. That's a totally different experience, even though she's legitimately biracial.
You say it the way you just said it.
Right. But my point is,
she's not a part of us type of attitude.
Yeah, but I mean, I promise you there are black people other than him that have said she's not black, because what they see is her go on BET and try to pretend like she's part of that culture, which she just frankly
did that same thing. I know Winfrey does that same thing.
Now the difference is Oprah Winfrey grew up like with very much the same black experience that a lot of black people do in the country.
So did Obama.
I mean, raised by your mom in Hawaii, and it's not the exact same. I'm saying I get their point.
Hawaii ain't cheap.
Okay, so I got to jump in. That in no other culture or race has been trying to be defined by other people and by everybody besides black culture, even by black people. And it's like we really start to spit it down. It's like, where'd you grow up? Are you hood? How do you talk? Are you like? And it's like I have this friend who's a gay black man who grew up in white neighborhoods, who sounds like a white guy. To be honest, he sounds like a white guy. And he's like, my whole life, I've always been pushed away by the black community, even though he's 100% African American, a descendant of slaves, because he doesn't talk or sound and dress like this stereotypical defined cutting board, or that people are trying to place black into.
Right.
I think that it's I don't even know what it is, but it pisses me off.
No, because okay, then here's what pisses you off, Matt, and it's what pisses me off too. That's what identity politics wants to do. It wants to say this: your skin color defines who you are and how you're supposed to be. I think all that is BS. I think that black people should be able to be any kind of person they want to be, and I don't think their growing up in a certain place makes them any less or more black. Now, you could have a different word for that. You could say because honestly, I also don't believe black people in even urban Detroit versus urban Chicago versus urban Oklahoma City are the same. Like, I think that it's ridiculous how we try to just say like everyone in this race is the same because of the color of their skin. But that's what the left part of the Democratic Party wants to do. That's what DEI and identity politics does. It says it boils you down to unmutable characteristics that you have no control over. So
I just want to point out that we never talk about the white vote like that.
Well, yeah, because it would be
we never start like talking about how white people talk and how white people dress and how white people are, and we don't have a pander. I mean, actually, Hillary Clinton did do a Southern draw, a couple of times.
Oh, she's the worst at that. But we talk about with Latino voters too, and it's so stupid. It's like you know what? Cubans and Mexicans sometimes don't even like each other when they live in the same state. Like it's like they're not a monolith. They're not the same people, and you gotta. I realize that this is part of campaigns. You do have to group people into kind of things, because there are statistics that show that they tend to move this way. White educated college women suburban moms act a certain way for the most part. But that's different. Those are not unmutable characteristics. When we do it with race, I think it's foolish. I think it's really the worst thing that Democrats have embraced lately. And I hope, looking at last night, we didn't see a lot of race stuff this week. We didn't see a lot of that kind of stuff. I'm hoping that the convention for the Democrats actually,
I'm hoping we get cut off in less than a minute.
Yeah, I hope that's the direction they really go, and it wasn't just for show. I'll say that.
So 1490 WWPR, we are wrapping up now.
He was going to say because.
No, that's
it. It's like, Blake, shut up already. And he's like, yeah, but this is my last sentence because, like, come on, man.
No, I think it would be good.
Got to say goodbye to our friends in the Tampa Bay area. We're going to say goodbye to everybody. But that system cuts us like automatically, as did the one in Atlanta. 14 and will actually the other one in Atlanta, if that hasn't happened already. 1490 WWPR, America One Radio, 99.1 WDJY, Yerg's Radio, rainbowradio.gay, and the UG.media. We will see you all again on Monday. I want to do this too. We still got, we lost some of them, but still. Matt Deemer, you can get him at matt@dailycryptonews.net and info@deemerforcongress.com. We are openly supporting him, or at least I am, for no other reason, if for no other reason, then he would be unseating a maggot. But I think this dude's a good dude. Thanks again for joining us, bud. Blake at thehomelessconservative.com. If you haven't figured out, he also is not a Trump fan, but is, and we appreciate this. Still what's Oklahoma? Midwest?
I don't know. We're right in the middle of the country. We're a little south. We're a little Midwest. We're a little Southwest. We're kind of a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
He's homeless in the country too, not just conservative.
Yeah, we are a weird state in that way.
Thehomelessconservative.com. Blake at thehomelessconservative.com is where you can get him. You can get all of us by hitting up news, NEWZ, at Yergz, YERGZ.com. That's it, gang. We'll see you again on Monday. Great show. I love being able to yell at you guys and still end the day being friends. It's fun. It's like our sport.
Oh, we're friends.
I mean, I don't see any reason why you can do this with anyone. Yeah, people should do it more often.
Welcome to the world. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday. Turn it up. There it is.
Loves Blake.
Yeah, peace out.